Hello, I'm Quinn Owen, reporting on the economic and financial affairs of China today. Chances are, if you're an investor in the Chinese market, you are doing very well. Over the last 30 years, China's GDP has increased on average of 10% each year. The gross domestic product in China has surpassed Japan in 2010, reaching 5.8 trillion in US denomination. China has become the second largest gross domestic product nation next to the United States. The large economic problem in China right now is the increasing credit deficit due to excessive bank loaning. Fitch Rating Agency recently reported that banks are using a variety of secretive tactics in order to prevent the actual amount of their loans from being disclosed. These practices include loan packaging, as well as using lightly regulated trust companies in order to disguise the actual rates of their loans. In order for the Chinese government to solve this problem, they're going to have to implement severe regulations in order to try and prevent a similar situation that happened to the United States in 2008 with the housing market crisis. We now go to Professor Jeff Tolan with his word on the history of China.
Hello, my name is Professor Jeff Tolan. The history of China is very long and extensive. Now, we are going to be observing the 20th century only today. The Qing dynasty started out the 20th century after it had begun in the 16th century itself, but it ended in 1912. So it began on a bad foot for China as it caused much unrest in the early period, with much imperialism inside of China, which caused more unrest inside the nation. As Britain and the Soviet Union attempted to exert more and more control over it, the dynasty slowly lost power. With things such as the Boxer Rebellion and other forms of imperialism, it eventually caused the dynasty to collapse, and there was a forced abdication of the emperor. After this, China became very weak, and there were several provinces that were made up and gradually gained and lost power, and Japan even invaded Manchuria. In 1972, China started to split off from the Soviet Union. As the Soviet Union attempted to exert more and more control, China opened up in 1972 relations with the outside world. It became members of the United Nations Security Council with a permanent seat, and also it opened up diplomatic relations with Richard Nixon in the United States. The nation of China is very destitute amongst its people, and it has a population of over 1.3 billion. The 1.3 billion people are not supported by the Chinese economy, and the Chinese government itself even instituted a one-child policy to try and limit its population. However, it has experienced much greater international acclaim in addition to international influence with the 2008 Beijing Olympics. In the Beijing Olympics, we are now going to learn more about.
Hi, this is Deborah with an update on the Chinese Olympics of 2008. China has come up with the top with 51 gold medals, but with the USA close in following. The USA has a total of 110 medals, and China 100. The biggest thing that everyone has been talking about has been Michael Phelps, with 8 gold medals in swimming. And of course, don't forget Usain Bolt, who's been nicknamed the fastest man in the world for setting new records in both the 100-meter and the 200-meter. China has almost had full sweeps of both diving and gymnastics, with an Aussie beating them out in the 10-meter platform, and in gymnastics, a Polish beating them out in the vault. Although in women's gymnastics, Chinese has been doing very well, it has been said that the younger Chinese girls on the team are not old enough to be in the Chinese Olympics, which would be 16. The U.S. has been also doing very well in gymnastics, with Nastia Liukin and Shawn Johnson getting each 1 gold, 2 silver, plus an extra bronze going to Nastia Liukin. But don't forget, Taiwan has been censored in this Olympics. They were not allowed to bring green clothing or any symbols with green in it. Thank you. That's all.
Hello, I am Ethan Zeng, and today I will be presenting you the scoop on the societal and cultural makeup of China. Now, for the modern society of China, there are two categories. There is the urban society and the rural society. Also, within Chinese society, there are 56 different ethnic groups, with the Han Chinese being the most preeminent. Now, within China, the main language, there are actually two main languages. These two are Mandarin and Cantonese. And the most predominant religion is Buddhism, although there are others such as Christianity and Hinduism. Now, for the music within Chinese culture, it is more modernized now, as there is rock and pop, which are mostly centered on industrialized cities such as Beijing, Shanghai, Wusan, and Sichuan. In the urban areas, such as in Chinese cities, there is a high proportion of workers who work in offices and in factories, while there are a low amount of workers in service, within the service sector. Now, also for urban families, they are mostly smaller than in rural families. Now, in the rural society, within these areas, there is a lack of unemployment and underemployment, as there are very few employment opportunities. There is also a low standard of living. Still, as time progresses, most people can see a distinct difference arising between the rural areas themselves as some individuals grow to increase in status.
The Chinese government, most people think, is a bad communist regime with an evil dictator. But is this really true? I'll face you with the facts. First of all, you have your dictator, Hu Jintao. Now the question is whether he's actually a dictator. He's the president, elected by the National People's Representative Congress. And this, in turn, the people and the representatives in the Congress are elected by political parties, and also by the independents. This seems to be a government representative of the people, but what people don't see are the specifics. The specifics are the CCP, or the Chinese Communist Party. As the CIA factbook puts it, this party controls 8 other parties. Also, the independents that are so-called independents are sympathetic to the Chinese Communist Party. So then, if it's a really bad repressive government, why don't the people revolt? It was a good question, so I asked my friend, Ling Bo. He said that many governments have gone in and out of China, and that no one wants to revolt to in order to see another government that will be more repressive than the last. Therefore, there is no hope in that another revolt will result into another government better than the last. Therefore, no revolt. Thank you.
In a world where good and evil have struggled for an eternity, two forces will collide. One man who has mastered the ancient art of Kung Fu, the other who has an intellectual aptitude no greater than a chimpanzee. Who will win? Well, there's only one way to find out. Kung Fu Ninja, coming soon.
Hi everyone, this is Alyssa Young, reporting for the MUNN Network. Last week I was able to interview Liu Xiaobo, the 2010 Nobel Prize winner, the first Chinese citizen to receive the prize. He won for his long and nonviolent struggle for the human rights in China. As a student, he fought for human rights in China in different events. Let's take a look at Liu Xiaobo's story. So, Liu Xiaobo, what exactly were you imprisoned for?
我在1989年回中国参加64天门学运，因此被关了5年。后来又因为08宪政，在6月23日被关，要坐牢11年。
What is the Charter 08 about?
08宪章内容除了提出促进中国民族化、改善人权状况外，更提出以建提中华联邦共和国来解释两岸的题节跟民问题。
Under the risk of being sent to prison, what are the fears that writers like yourself have today in China?
在吉川社会下，我不害怕进行民主工作，否则我不会做了19年。我认为我像住在连城的监牢里，从一个城小监牢进到另一层社会监牢里。我怕连累我的家人，可是我并不后悔。虽然我被关，但我已经跨越红过，离自由不远了。
Today, Liu Xiaobo has continued to write from prison.